Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 10 Pokemon to build for 2026 for the Open Great League. And while the leagues can always have a little bit of a move update, those 10 Pokemon that I showcase you today are Pokemon that I don't think gonna get nerfed anytime soon and are absolutely safe investments, as they have been very strong for so many seasons now as well. Or they are kinda in a position where they can't really nerf it. And so today we're going to take a look at 10 Pokemon you should definitely have built for the Go Battle League, for the Great League. And if you want to see another video like this for the Ultra League and for the Master League, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. And let me know down below if you want to see that again. And let me know down below which Pokemon did I miss. There might be another part of this if you want to give me like more suggestions as well. But those are the 10 Pokemon that I chose that are going to be absolutely worth investing in. First one is going to be Altaria. Currently ranked number 4, this Pokemon got buffed quite significantly recently. This Pokemon is very strong now, with Dragon Breath are now generating more energy, but what actually makes this Pokemon special is the combination of having a Dragon and Flying type Pokemon, which is good against most of the metas we had so far in the Go Battle League, plus the very nice coverage of Flamethrower now, which allows it to hit Ice as well as those Steel-type Pokemon, but also just the stats. As you're going to see here as well for this video, you see all the stats of this Pokemon, and basically you would consider a Pokemon quite bulky if it's above 2100. I would say that's kind of a good limit. Like below still is kind of nice. Like for example 1900 to 2100 as like the bulk stat, which you see here as the overall stat, is still quite bulky. You have like Pokemon like Throw It in there, for example. But this is quite a bulky Pokemon. Quite a Pokemon that can take a lot of hits, which is important in the Go Battle League. Bulk is generally king. We'll have some more squishier Pokemon later on as well though, but this makes this Pokemon very difficult to remove from the field, and we have an interesting moveset for this Pokemon. And as if, like, for example here, Dragon Breath is gonna get nerfed, you have option to go for Peck. Peck is also currently a very strong move. They do basically the exact same. It just depends on which kind of turn duration you want, which type you want. Currently, Dragon Breath is definitely preferred, but you have like the option here for having 2 great fast moves, and then the charge moves are actually not even that great. Like Sky Attack is okay, but 50 energy is quite a lot. You don't have even a cheap move for this Pokemon, but still it performs so well. It's such a strong Pokemon that you have just so much flexibility with it, and then you have other charge moves as well that you can run, like Moonblast or Dancing Gleam. They're gonna give you some other coverage as well that you could run. Dragon Pulse recently got buffed, so you basically have 5 charge moves that are all very solid for this Pokemon, that all would make sense in certain scenarios, and 2 fast moves that are both very good, which makes Altaria very much future-proof. And as you can see as well, there's going to be the weakness of the Pokemon. You actually have quite some weaknesses here with Ice and Fairy, Dragon and Rock, but you also have quite some solid resistances with 2 double resistances to Grass as well as Ground, which especially in a meta where Mud Step is very common, Pokemon is amazing in countering, for example, Pokemon like the Gastrodon, which you see as well as one of the main Pokemon that Altaria wants to counter, and that's why this Pokemon is super worth it to build. Here's some Pokemon that you can use as suggested teammates as well, especially the Empoleon Altaria core is absolutely broken right now. Maybe run a team like Altaria, Credilli, as well as Empoleon, or even Altaria, Corviknight, and Empoleon in order to win a lot of games in the Go Battle League, because this Pokemon is absolutely worth building. Next up, going to be Corviknight. I can't see that this Pokemon gets nerfed anytime soon either. Sand Attack is already a move that is not the strongest, but here again, this Pokemon is kind of sitting around in like the very bulky range. But what makes this Pokemon actually really bulky is what we can kind of take a look at after this one here is going to be the resistances basically. But as you can see here, this Pokemon has Sand Attack as a fast move, Air Slash and Steel Ring as alternatives. Those are not as great as Sand Attack, because Sand Attack you see already in the middle. EPT means energy per turn. You generate quite a lot of energy per turn with the fast move of Sand Attack. And what this just kind of allows you, while you don't do a lot of damage, you're going to be able to reach those moves a bit faster. And with the addition of Air Cutter, this Pokemon is just amazing, because like even if Sand Attack somehow gets super nerfed, you still have actually Steel Wing and Air Cutter with a boost chance in order to be even overpower opponents with that combination, because Steel Wing does a lot of damage per energy, which is damage per turn, which you see on the left side there as well. And you can, if you get a boost, do a lot of fast move pressure with this Pokemon as well. So they have different ways of playing it. And then you have 4 different charge moves that all have some options, like they're all kind of viable, but currently the most common one which you see as well on the left is Sand Attack, Air Cutter and Payback, which gives you great coverage, the option to boost your own attack up, and just so much pressure against the opponents. And as you can see here, this is why this Pokemon is so busted. This is one of the best defensive typings in the game. You only have weakness to Electric and Fire, which are generally not the most common types in the current meta game, and also basically recently not as much in the last few seasons. And you have so many resistances with 4 quadruple resistances here, basically with the bucket grass and poison all being double resisted. Basically, that is kind of crazy. So yeah, this Pokemon is just mainly good because of this. Here's some alternatives. This Pokemon is, by the way, an amazing save stop because of those resistances and those few weaknesses, especially because the fast move center currently is super effective against the only 2 weaknesses this Pokemon has. So yeah, this is an amazing save stop. It's an amazing Pokemon generally. Also in the lead, also the closer. This Pokemon can play anything. Here's some Pokemon you can pair it with. I like to have Stunfisk in the lead, saves up Corviknight, and then something like a Charizard in the back, or a Tinkaton, for example. But yeah, Corviknight is a Pokemon that is so good in the current meta game and will be so strong also in the future. Jellicent is the current #1 Pokemon in the GO Battle League. This is the current strongest Pokemon, and it actually doesn't have the biggest usage there. Like, actually not a lot of people are running it currently. Like, it's still been played, but it's not as common as it should be, most likely. But with 2100 overall stats, again, it's a very bulky Pokemon with a Ghost and yeah, water typing. It actually utilizes its stab moves quite solidly. Here we're going to have also, again, Hex as the ideal move, which is going to generate energy quite fast. But even if Hex somehow gets super nerfed, you still have a Bubble, which is still going to be a stab move that does more damage, generates a little bit less energy, but still wouldn't make this Pokemon too bad. But like, this Pokemon got actually buffed quite significantly recently, as Hex got buffed and Shadow Ball got buffed in terms of needing less energy, which makes it now such a threatening Pokemon. You have Surfsell as a coverage move. It's an amazing Pokemon. Honestly, it's such a strong Pokemon to run. I would really recommend you to give this Pokemon a try if you haven't done that yet. Yeah, again, the weaknesses, there are only 4 weaknesses to this Pokemon, but honestly, so many resistances, and the double resist fighting as well as normal, which is kind of mad as well. So like, this Pokemon is amazing. Here's some Pokemon you can pair it with. A Wigglytuff, for example, covers the weakness of Dark for you as well as Ghost. Same goes for Ferret can cover Ghost type Pokemon, it's just generally neutral. So you can even run something like Jellicent, Ferret, and Wigglytuff, or even Florges as a safe stop. They all kind of work out really well together, and we can move on to the next one. Bastiodon is going to be next, and this Pokemon has been dominating the GO Battle League for quite a while and recently got buffed again with Smackdown getting a bit stronger. This Pokemon has crazy stats. Like, look at the defense stat of this Pokemon. You need to have it kind of fully excelled off to get the full potential of this Pokemon, but it is worth it, trust me. The fast moves are actually horrible, but because of the stats being so broken and because of the resistances this Pokemon has, look at this, like, you have so many crazy resistances. Like, Poison, what are you doing here? Poison doesn't do any damage against you, but you have so many resistances also against common types like Dragon and Fairy. You're going to be in such a good position with this thing. And after Counter got nerfed, you don't really have even that much fighting type pressure against this Pokemon, which means it's only Mud type really that is really scary. And even against some water type Pokemon, you have sometimes some potential to even win, like Zero Shield Scenario, just because of the pure power that this Pokemon has. Bastion is so worth it. XL Candy is, of course, needed. It is quite, yeah, expensive. Here are some Pokemon they can pair it with. I like the combination of like Ludicolo, Jellicent as backline with this Pokemon in the lead. You can definitely give that a try. It's absolutely worth it. Bastion, one of the most expensive Pokemon, but absolutely worth building for the GO Battle League. Alright, we're going to have here the Sableye. Sableye is a little bit more of a different story compared to the other ones. Basically, Sableye has been around as well since the beginning of the GO Battle League, and it's been always kind of very strong, especially the Shadow variant, but also the non-Shadow variant is also working out, by the way. You see her overall stats is the lowest of this list so far. It is not as strong in terms of the defensive capabilities, but this Pokemon is an amazing lead. It's an amazing save stop, especially as well, and this is mainly because of the coverage moves that you have. Ignore Drain Punch and Frustration here, but you have the option to go for the Foul Play, which is amazing. Foul Play is going to be the go-to move for this Pokemon. You kind of always want to run it, because after the recent change to Foul Play, it's 5 fast move of Shadow Claw to get to a Foul Play. That's amazing pacing, and then you have 2 good coverage moves, and actually more like even 3 good coverage moves at this point, in either the Power Gem, the Shadow Sneak, or the Dazzling Gleam. Generally preferred, I always prefer Power Gem as coverage, because a Rock type is an amazing offensive move type to have. It's really bad defensively, but offensively you hit like Flying type, Ice type Pokemon for super effective damage. You have Fire type Pokemon that you're going to hit for super effective damage. You have a lot of Pokemon they can hit there. And the main thing why Sableye is such an amazing save stop as well is because you only have one singular weakness in Fairy type Pokemon that you still hit for neutral damage with Shadow Claw and Power Gem. The only real nemesis of this Pokemon is Wigglytuff, which you see as well in the key losses. Anything else this Pokemon actually still has some potential against. And this is the main reason why Wigglytuff is also such an interesting Pokemon, because Sableye kinda needs Wigglytuff in order to be balanced, because Wigglytuff completely clowns on this Pokemon. Like the Wigglytuff has like nothing really hits this Pokemon at all. But this Pokemon itself is so amazing, and you can kind of pair it with nearly everything. Best is of course paired with a Steel type Pokemon like Steelix or Empoleon and Elite, and then say some of like Sableye, and then like another Dark type, Ghost type Pokemon in the back, somewhere like this, because you kind of want to carry the cover the kind of weakness of fairy type Pokemon, of course, and this is where you kind of need to have a Steel type Pokemon with us. That's why they are so suggested for this Pokemon, but Sableye is amazing, absolutely worth building. Next up is maybe a Pokemon that I didn't really expect on the list, but this is a list of Pokemon that I expect to be either stronger in the future or at least not really dropping off. And Tinkaton is going to stay here. Like, I can't see this Pokemon getting nerfed in any kind of way. And the main reason why this Pokemon is here in the first place is because of the amazing type that it has and the stats combined with it. And the move pool is actually not as crazy right now, but it can only get better, basically, is what I'm thinking about this Pokemon. Here we see a Pokemon that has a very solid bulk. 2100 is amazing bulk, but what you see here as well is that this thing has not the best moves. Fairy Wind is amazing. Like, Fairy Wind is an amazing fast move, don't get me wrong. But Heavy Slam doesn't do a lot of damage. Bulldoze is not only there for coverage, kinda, but it's the best and cheapest move to get to. Pacing is actually really important here. That's why Bulldoze is a thing as well in this Pokemon. And Play Rough is like the only real damaging move for this Pokemon. In the future, it's going to get Gigaton Hammer, which is going to be a community move most likely for this Pokemon, which is going to be a very solid Steel type move. But even then, I would assume that we maybe even see some other moves getting added onto this Pokemon in the meantime through like season updates, which will make this just better. And here's the reason why it's so strong. Look at the resistances. Like, what? You resist half of the entire meta, and you only have 2 weaknesses to fire and ground. And again, for fire, we actually have coverage in the ground type moves. And ground is taking neutral damage from fairy type moves, so like it's not even that you're getting completely hard-walled, which just makes Tinkaton such an interesting Pokemon. I like the combination of Tinkaton Ferret. I think it's a very good combination together, and then you can have Jellicent in the back as well. That works out really, really well as a team. So Tinkaton, absolutely a Pokemon worth building. Wigglytuff is going to be next year. I don't really, like, for the veteran players here, I don't really have to say too much about this Pokemon. It just got absolutely buffed recently, and to a point where I don't really like it. I see that this Pokemon might get nerfed in the future. I could see that Charm is going to get an energy reduction by 1, which still would give it very nice pacing to Swift, but would make it a bit more difficult to go for Icy Wind that easily. But this Pokemon is currently at the point where I feel like it's kind of nearly broken. And the overall stats don't even look like crazy, but the combination of the Fairy and Normal type is just so amazing in any recent meta. And then having the coverage of Swift and Icy Wind is just so broken. Yeah, like, Wigglytuff has been busted basically ever since the beginning of the Go Battle League. And I can't see that this Pokemon is gonna go anywhere. And here's the thing, weaknesses to Poison and Steel, neither of the types are very good offensively. Neither of the types are used offensively. Like, you have even Poison type Pokemon that don't even use Poison type charge moves. Like, for example, the Drapion. Like, for example, here the Tentacruel even doesn't use it. Tentacruel is the worst kind of Pokemon to encounter it right now, other than Empoleon. But like, Steel type moves, generally, there's no good Steel type charge moves other than Doom Desire on Jirachi, and like, you're not gonna face this Pokemon. So this is why Wigglytuff is so safe. It's kind of more of a current design flaw of the meta in Pokemon Go, but like for the last 5 years. That Poison Steel type Pokemon are just not good offensively. And here we see some good partners with it. Again, we already talked about Jellicent and why this is so good. But you can even use Annihilate, Chase up Jellicent in the back, and then have the Wigglytuff in the lead, and you're going to have a fantastic team for yourself. Clodsire is absolutely underrated. And again, what we have here is a video about 10 Pokemon that are still going to be strong in the future and are good investments. And this is where Clodsire comes in clutch. It's not very commonly used, but look at the stats of this Pokemon. It is really, really strong. It's still ranked 33 on PvPoke, by the way. I think it's super underrated, by the way. But this Pokemon is fantastic, and it has also a lot of different play, because I can't see that Poison Sting gets nerfed anytime soon. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no Pokemon that's broken with this move, so I just assume it's going to stay the same. But what we have here is the combination of Stone Edge, Sludge Bomb, Earthquake, even Mega Horn as potential movesets. Yeah, this Pokemon has a lot of kind of options, as well as it has a very good typing in Poison and Ground. that is a very unique in what it can do, and you're going to be able to wall something like a Wigglytuff here, which is kind of nice. You are just very nice neutrally, and Clodsire will only be better. There are a few weaknesses and a few resistances, but I do think that Clodsire is a Pokemon that just in the way it is, it will never fully go away, and will be always kind of a solid pick. And as soon as this Pokemon gets a cheaper charge move that does more damage than Acid Spray, like it just needs to have a 45 energy charge move, it's going to be top meta. It's going to be like #1 spot. And I do think that Clodsire only going to get better. And here, of course, some teammates. Ferret makes sense. Usually paired with a dark type in the back as well. You can use Ferret, say something, and then like some kind of dark type, like Azumarill in the back, and you're going to be fine as well. Talonflame is going to be next. Actually ranked 20. That was super low ranked prior, but I think people recently changed the ranking and this Pokemon kind of jumped up quite a bit. And it doesn't have the craziest stats, but what it has is Incinerate and a flying typing. Why is the flying typing so important? It's because in the current meta, but also in recent metas, Mud type has been so important as like one of the most common fast moves, which you as a fire type usually don't want to face, but if you're a fire flying type, it's a whole different story. That's why fire and flying is such a good combination currently in the meta. Of course, your nemesis is going to be Bastiodon because you have that quadruple weakness, or like, yeah, 2 times weakness, I think here, it's better to say, against rock, as well as you're going to have the electric and water type weakness, but you actually have quite some solid resistances, and fire types generally are very nice offensively in the current meta, which just Talonflame has the potential to have also so many different kind of moves. If you go back here real quick as well, you see the moveset of this Pokemon. You have Incinerate and Peck, which are both fantastic fast moves. Incinerate is, in my opinion, still preferred, but Peck is a very solid fast move as well, which has the benefit of being a 2-turn fast move. If you don't know, like if you're new to PvP or whatever as well, generally 5-turn fast moves are so clunky that opponents can kind of predict stuff, and it's a bit more awkward to play around with it. They are very strong though. Incinerate is like very strong. It's the only 5-turn fast move so far. But basically what we have here otherwise is Fly as a cheap move to hit, Flame Charge to boost their own attack up, and then Brave Bird as a nuke move. And you can even have this Pokemon as a Shadow, which is also making it a very, very solid pick. And here, Pokemon to combined with Ferret, Morpeko are very good together as well. You can use Cordelia as a Haze-Up and Morpeko in the back. I used it recently only and had great success with it. Here's some very good Pokemon to pair it with. And this is going to be the final Pokemon for today in this video as well. And again, if you want to see another version of this for the Ultra League, then feel free to let me know down below. Here are the 2026 Pokemon that you want to build for the Great League, the top 10. If I want to have a part 2 for it, then let me know down below as well. But here, as you're going to see, this is the god of Pokemon GO, basically. This is the Pokemon that is most comparable to Incineroar in the VGC scene. Azumarill is just been there everywhere. And it's not going to go anywhere. This has been the most common meta pick kind of since the first season of Pokemon GO PvP there. And it is not going to go anywhere. Like, we're going to see here, the moves itself are actually not that crazy. We have Bubble, okay. We have Play Rough, 60 energy for 90 damage, I think total. Here, of course, Stabs added on top of it. Same type attack bonus is alright. Then we have Ice Beam, 55 energy is alright, and you have Hydro Pump, 75. You have barely any moves, but all of those moves are viable. All of those moves are kind of cool. And now we're going to take a look at why this Pokemon is actually so cool. It's because actually the type itself, Water and Fairy, is a nice defensive type. We talked about Poison already on why this is basically nowhere. Grass has been nowhere so recently, especially after Corviknight, and a lot of other flying type Pokemon kind of got a bit more higher up. And then you have Ice type, the Electric type here as well, which is not really that commonly used, and not a lot of Pokemon that can really hit this very hard. And then you have, of course, the amazing bulk of this Pokemon. And for grass types, you also would have access to Ice Beam as a coverage, so it's not even that bad either. And what we see here as well, like here are some suggested teammates, like this Pokemon has been dominating PvP forever now. It has been good literally for 5 years, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's safe to build. And those are the top 10 Pokemon I would build for the new 2026 season here as well. If you want to see another one for the Ultra League, let me know down below, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.